Hola, Dianne America Nicolini is one of the hosts at the Classical California radio network. From listening to her, she seems like a lovely person, and she has a very pleasant radio voice. She comes across as very down to earth, which I appreciate about her. So, what's my problem with Dianne? There's got to be a problem, right? At least one problem? Well, yes. One thing I've noticed about Dianne is that she doesn't seem to understand that there are three Americas. North America, which includes the United States of America, Central America, and South America. They are all America. The United States is not the only America, and the nation is not called the United States America. The official name of the U.S. is the United States of America, meaning it is part of America. But somewhere along the way, the U.S. and its people decided to be sloppy and refer to the United States as America, when the U.S. is technically only part of North America, just like Canada and Mexico. And Dianne refers to anyone from the United States as the American so-and-so instead of the USan, which is the term that some progressives were using. See, the problem with the country never having chosen a name for its country, when you don't choose a name for your country, this is what happens. The last time I listened to Dianne, she started talking about George Gershwin, and she mentioned Rhapsody in Blue. I thought, you're not going to play that again, are you? Didn't we just hear that last week? The Rhapsody is played fairly often on the station by other hosts as well, although I suspect they would deny that, as stations do when one complains about certain pieces being overplayed. I think there used to be a rule that a piece would get played approximately once every 6 months. When I lived in the District of Columbia, I remember calling the classical music station. It was WGMS, which is no longer around, and I requested that a broadcast of a special performance they had played be repeated. I was told, since we just played that, it won't be played again for at least another 6 months. Well, I take it that that rule has been abandoned. But instead, fortunately, Dianne played Gershwin's Obertura Cubano. Dianne referred to Gershwin as the, quote, American composer. I thought, which America did he live in, Dianne? Rather than Gershwin was a composer from the United States of America. I don't recall ever hearing her use the term U.S. or the United States. It's always America and American. Which makes me ask, does Dianne think that there's only one America, and that's the United States of North America? That's the impression I'm left with. Many people do think that, including the cultist of the former White House resident who is currently running for U.S. president again. His cultists, the MAGA, M-A-G-A crowd, think that. I know because I've talked with them. They are all about America and American, just like their willfully ignorant cult leader. Does he ever tell the truth about anything? His cultists told me, at that time, there is only one America, and that's the U.S. So I suggested they study a map of the Americas, and they told me they don't believe in maps. So when one is dealing with people like that, there is no room for any further discussion. One wonders how they drive somewhere they haven't been before without using a map. Don't they use a map for that? Then there's the country with no name. Yes, there is one country on the planet with no name. What country is that? It's the U.S. The problem is that the United States of America never had the intelligence to come up with a one-word name for their country like all other countries did. So instead, the U.S. arrogantly stole the name of the entire hemisphere, America, as the unofficial name of the country. I'm fully aware that the term America has been used for decades, and nearly everyone uses it except me and the people I know, even politicians who should know better. But many of them use sloppy and unofficial language all the time. Saying America and American used to be a pet peeve rather, of so-called progressives, but it no longer is. Unfortunately, most, quote, progressives have become an empty shell of their former selves. So these days they're using the same language as the far right, including regularly saying America and American on so-called progressive websites when referring to U.S. residents. As my Latino friends say, the U.S. is the country with no name. That's very true. Unlike Mexico, Colombia, Argentina, Chile, France, Deutschland, and China, and many other nations. All of those countries have a one-word name because they had the intelligence to choose a name for their country, unlike the U.S. The United States of America never chose a name for their country, well, other than they stole the name of the entire hemisphere, arrogantly so, as the name of the country. And other countries have United States or provinces too as part of their country. For example, there are 32 states in Mexico, and the official name of the country is Estados Unidos Mexicanos, United Mexican States. Canada has 10 states or provinces, and they also have 3 territories. Nihon, Japan, is divided into 9 regions, which are split into 47 smaller prefectures. Those regions are not formally specified, and they do not have elected officials, nor are there any corporate bodies. I should think Dianne would know all this, no? If so, why does she insist on saying America and American all the time when she's on the air? Considering there are 3 Americas, as I listed above, technically, again, the United States is only part of North America. Dianne mentioned George Gershwin had gone to visit Cuba, which is also part of the North American continent. I suspect most people don't know that, so in the case of Gershwin, if Dianne insists on using the term America and American, one could say that an American, Gershwin, went to visit another part of North America, specifically Cuba. When Dianne said Cuba, she did not pronounce it authentically, as it's spoken in Espanol. She pronounced Cuba the way many English speakers unfortunately mispronounce Cuba, by trying to make a word from Espanol an English language word. Espanol words should be pronounced as close to authentically as pronounced in Espanol. Stop the nationalism. Por favor, please. So what should Dianne and other classical music radio hosts be saying? Well, since music is the international language and not a national language, there is no need for nationalism of any kind. Outside of a conservatory class about composers, do we need to know where composers or performers, conductors were born? No, because what does that have to do with anything? It's irrelevant, although I know classical music stations can't seem to exist without engaging in nationalism, where they have to announce the birth location of the artist, such as the Irish pianist, or the English pianist, or the French pianist, or in the case of Dianne, she would say the American pianist, for example, and the birthplace of the composer. The thing is, one does not get a better performance of a piece because of their birthplace or where they live. To think that is a myth, and it's very outdated thinking. As a friend said, it's surprising that classical music stations don't go through every orchestra, the orchestral musicians, and give us their birth location. Yes, that is amazing. to use an overused word of the time. Most of the time, they feel the need to say, the French pianist. Why do we need to know that the pianist is French, when again, music is the international language crossing all human-created borders? Will play for us a piece by the German composer. They have to tell us it's a German composer. Why do we need to know that? Johannes Brahms. One day I heard Dianne use the awful expression, kill two birds with one stone. I thought, why would one be talking about killing birds on a classical music station? Isn't there some other way to say what one is trying to express without talking about killing something? Our society certainly does have some outdated and bad expressions which some people mindlessly use. I also noticed that Dianne pronounces Ukraine incorrectly when introducing a piece of music from Ukraine. It's a two-syllable word, and both syllables are pronounced with equal weight when pronounced correctly. Like the illiterate-sounding redneck Hicks in the U.S. Congress, Dianne accents the first syllable, so she says, Ukraine. You may have heard people in the U.S. Congress say, Ukraine. That is incorrect. Not that she will ever watch this video to note that correction or to stop saying America and American frequently as she does. In conclusion, I live under no illusions that classical music stations, or Dianne for that matter, will ever change their rank nationalism in their programming. It seems to be a habit for them, and the conservative BBC being among the worst of them in this regard. So gracias for your company and for watching the video. I appreciate it.